So with that, we're going to move to the next part of our presentation, and Nick Cannon is back because we're going to present together about this. So when we started talking about our open source forum, our transformation, Rob Brito, our chairman, looked around the studios at Disney and contacted Nick to ask if Nick would be ready to host us. And so shortly thereafter, once Nick said yes, we got on the phone and on the Zoom, and we started talking about what we were trying to do here, and specifically around AI. And the premise was, and I asked Nick, do you have a map that represents not necessarily Walt Disney specifically, Walt Disney Studio Animation, but a map that represents a generic studio, because this would be helpful when we talk about where AI is going to have an impact and all of that. And the answer was?
Not yet.
Yes.
But I've been thinking about it.
Right.
So, yeah. So I mean, maybe I can say a bit about kind of the journey that I've been on with this. So I know there's a few in the room who've kind of had roles where you're responsible for all of technology in a studio, and I think one of the things that strikes you when you do that is that lots of people kind of are very focused on particular silos or particular areas of expertise. There's actually very few people who understand the full breadth and scope of all the technology. You know, almost all of computer science is represented within these visual effects and animation studios. And so in the back of my mind, I've been wanting to do a talk at some point, talk about the anatomy of a studio, to trying to paint the picture of like all the different technical capabilities that exist in a studio like this. And that's, and that can be useful from thinking about how do you manage your technology portfolio. It's also good to talk about to people are interested in careers, and what kind of jobs are available. Or it's good for talking to investors or business leaders who don't really understand why you're asking them for so much money for capex. And you say, well, look at all this stuff that we're doing here, and that's why we need all these people and all this investment. And so I've thought about doing that and not done it until David, in his special way, prodded me to the point of saying yes. And so I took a pass at kind of thinking about the kind of an overview of the technical capabilities, and I sent that over to David.
Yes. So this was to essentially address that part of our mission for the day. What is a studio? And the map, there was not one that we could find still to this day. And so we set up after that from build one. And it started like this. So Nick had done some work. The graphics were not complete yet, but the list here went down like a number of pages. And so that's, we're going to zoom the story to what we are, to where we are today. The Anatomy of a Studio, version 1. So this, we made that slide as it was being built. We shared it with a lot of people. Right?
Yeah. I know David shared it with people on in various committees within the ASWF. I also shared it and discussed it with the Visual Effects Society Technology Committee. Had lots of great feedback, some of which is represented here. But for those of you who gave feedback, yes, I know not all of it is here. We also have a to-do list as well with lots more stuff that we need to do as well. And so to be continued.
To be continued.
Question mark, I guess, for this group.
Yes, exactly. And thank you. We shared it with the board and the TAC of the Academy Software Foundation. Thanks to every one of you who contributed and put comments in. Work in progress, but we declared this slide that we just saw to be version 1. Yeah, and there'll be a version 2. There needs to be. And so working on this, we will ask for call to action for anyone who wants to review it, want to see it. It's totally open. Just ask me, John Murtick, and we will send you the link. And we count on your being respectful of the process by adding comments the way on the side, and we can build future version of it. Our first use case for that Anatomy of a Studio is we took our own open source project. So we have 15 open source projects, as you know, at the Academy Software Foundation currently. We asked the leaders to, we did a spreadsheet with all the station on the map and all of our projects, and essentially click the box where each project is used and the main station for each project. And that gave us, in a very rough way, this superposition of the logos of our project and where they play in the anatomy of a studio map as it is. That's kind of hard to read and not very visible. So we transformed that into a form of a heat map on where our open source projects at the foundation are playing. And that gives us, I think, when you look at this generally, there's probably no big surprise that a lot of the coding is yellow, orange, green, yellow, orange, red. And so red is the highest intensity. And so it's no surprise that our project plays a lot in 3D and tools and on platform in some of the station and some of the infrastructure as it is. So already it gives us a sort of a abstracted way to see where our own projects are going. And we have started looking at other ways to do that in a little bit more specific way, highlighting also in the same colors, but now more specifically to the various areas. We still had a lot of discussion about where does my project fit, into the map itself. But over time, we believe that it's useful for a number of reasons, and this can be used in ways for the future.
Yeah, I mean, I think in terms of uses, I covered some of them already, but I think identifying areas like where we mature, where there's certain places that we have good coverage, and where are there gaps. And maybe there's gaps where it just makes sense that that's not where open source plays or whatever. But there may be gaps like, hey, there is an opportunity, particularly as we consider kind of where we're going. I think so many of the projects that we have kind of reflect what happened over the last 10 years and kind of what we've done to kind of to do that. But what do we anticipate that's coming, and where might we want to focus? In areas that we think may be being underserved by open source software. So this could be a good tool to maybe identify a couple of those areas.
Great. So we're off to Anatomy of a Studio V2. So if you have an opinion about it, please let us know, myself, John, and we will send you the map. If you can circulate it inside your company, or to the people that are more minded about doing these kind of abstract version of reality. And so we are going to do a second poll now, and this one is about, the question is, what other use case do you see? Did any use case pop to mind when you saw that map? Oh yeah, it would be useful to map this or that. So we can bring up that poll, and that's a different type of poll. This one requires that you answer the question. So what other use case could we overlay on the map? That's the question. And then you can put your answer, and you can rate the answer of others. And we'll do a lot of those as we go through the presentation here. What use case can we overlay on the map? Yes, virtual production. It's definitely on our to-do list. I think it would be fair to say that the version 1 of the map is skewed toward an animation studio. That would be natural. Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. No, I think definitely on the to-do list. There's things like a lot of on-set capabilities, virtual production, that kind of thing. That my animation bias. Well, I don't have an animation. I had many years in visual effects, but I just quickly but my very rough sketch wasn't on there. I'll put it that way. But, yeah.
Right. So we do have to add the VFX and live action aspect to the map for sure. So that's great. Thank you for your contribution. You'll notice that once we go back to the presentation, the poll stays active. Yeah? And so now we're going to move to the poll for our next presentation. Yes, I'm out of time.